Hi, welcome back to our channel. This is LINOVISION. In this episode, we're introducing our newly launched Solar PoE Switch, the POE-SW505GD. Before we get into the details, let's quickly break down what the Solar PoE Switch actually is. Solar PoE Switch, also called the DC 12V PoE Switch, is a PoE switch built to run directly off the solar power system or standalone battery. Here's the architecture at the typical solar camera side. Panels feed a solar charge controller, which stores energy in the battery. The DC you actually have on hand is the system voltage, 12 volts or 24 volts if it's a 24 volts battery. A conventional PoE switch needs 48 volts at its input. To bridge that gap, a lot of installers put an external voltage booster. One more box to wire in the cell in the cabinet. A Solar PoE switch removes that box. It takes 12 or 24 volts directly, straight from the charge controller or batteries, and stepped up to the 48 volts the PoE stage needs, all internally. The 55GD is a 5-port full gigabit PoE switch with a wide DC input range of 9 to 57 volts. That range is a whole point. It runs straight off 12 volts 24 volts controller or battery with no booster. And it rises through the voltage sag you get from the battery under load or in the cold weather. The output side is a beautiful mixed field gear, not just identical cameras. You get one passive PoE port 24 volts for wireless bridge, one 45 volts high PoE port for large PTZ camera, and two L2.3 AT ports for standard IP cameras or IoT terminals, and plus a gigabit uplink. Power input is redundant and isolated. Two independent DC inputs, both accepting 9 to 57 volts with no mutual interference between them, or from two separate supplies. The next feature that sets the 55GD apart: remote reboot over the digital input. And here's how it works. You wire switches RE positive and RE negative terminals to the digital output of the device that's already on site. A cellular router, an IoT controller, or many IP cameras. When you need to power cycle that switch, send a digital output trigger from the router's web GUI from the IoT cloud. The 55GD sets the trigger and reboots itself. You get triggered in 3 ways: manually, on the schedule, or off the event's workflow. One of the key features of LINOVISION POE-SW505GD is a remote restart. The switch has a built-in reboot relay that can be triggered by the digital signal from the cellular routers or other external controllers. And this allows you to remotely power cycle and restart the PoE devices connected to the switch. Here's how it works in remote deployment. Your remote management platform communicates with the cellular router over the network. When a restart is needed, the cloud platform sends the command to the router. The router then activates its digital output, which is connected directly to the digital input, or you can call reboot port on the POE-SW505GD. That signal triggers the switch's built-in reboot function, power cycling the PoE switch, and restarting the connected cameras or other PoE devices. Here's the tips. A direct connection between the cellular router's digital output and the POE-SW505GD's reboot input depends on router's available I/O compatibility. If the router provides compatible digital output, the two devices can be connected directly without separate I/O controller in between. This feature for solar trailers, remote civilian sites, mobile security systems, and other unattended installations. And it gives you the simple way to recover connected PoE devices remotely without sending someone on site just to cycle the power. The 55GD is a direct upgrade to the PoE Switch 0504GD and is fully replaced. Here's what changed. The 0504GD gives you 4 L2.3 AT ports and the 55GD swept that for mixed output set, Passive PoE, a 45-watt high PoE port, and the two 80 ports and a 1 gigabit uplink port. So the single unit can power the bridge and the big PDC at the same time. Both have a dual DC input, but on the 55GD, those inputs are now isolated. PoE budget at 12 volts goes from 60 watts up to 70 watts. At 24 volts, both deliver 120 watts. Digital input reboot feature is new. The 0504GD doesn't have it. And the 55GD resolves a compatibility issue with a previous generation had with Victron charge controller. So if you run Victron, this is a unit you want. The housing is redesigned but it keeps nearly the same footprint and it now supports thin rail mounting and on the back or bottom plus with a wall mount. The 55GD sits inside the border LINOVISION Solar PoE line, so you can match the switch to the side. If you need a layer 2 plus cloud management, look at the SWMR708 and the SWR612 series in 8-port and high PoE configurations. The SWR608G runs a smart cloud management with a 2 high PoE and 6 80 ports. On the same 55GD platform with SIP uplink, that's the SW504GDF. And for genuinely hostile outdoor environments, the SW55GD M12P uses M12 connectors in the waterproof anti-corrosion enclosure. 112 or 24 volts input, one switch powers bridge, PDZ cameras, and IoT controllers, all powered and all remotely recoverable. That's POE-SW505GD from LINOVISION. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video.